Arktikum. Arktikum is a science centre and museum that presents an experience of Arctic nature, culture and history up close. Housing the University of Lapland's Arctic Centre and the Regional Museum of Lapland, Arktikum stimulates thought, sparks debate and provides a deeper understanding of the Arctic region. Arktikum is one of the best-known landmarks in the cityscape of Rovaniemi, Lapland, thanks to an architecturally impressive 172-metre-long glass tube. This stunning feature literally provides a window to the 8 seasons in the Arctic city, its weather conditions and extreme changes in light that characterize the constant change in nature this far north. The building is designed by Danish architect Claus and his team. Completed in 1992, the building's iconic glass tube represents a frozen finger that points to the north. The idea was to place the museum and science centre exhibitions below ground level, creating a cave or den which are characteristic habitations for many animals in Lapland and the Arctic. More similar connections to nature can be found in the architectural details of Arktikum. Arktikum lies on the bank of river Auroras by a beautiful park named Arctic Garden. The park offers a glimpse into Arctic flora, has perfect spots for picnics under the midnight sun, and charming little sandy beaches for sunny summer days. During the darker times of the year, this area transforms to an excellent place for viewing the Northern Lights. Arktikum is the ideal place to start your visit to Lapland. The 2 exhibitions that are placed on each side of the glass tube, the Frozen Finger of the North, present the perfect starter kit to life in the North. One side, the Science Centre, informs you of Arctic issues, while the other side, the museum, focuses on life in Finnish Lapland. Arktikum gives you the essential tools for understanding the area you are visiting. What is life like in the world's northernmost regions? How have the people, flora and fauna of the Arctic adapted to the extreme cold, severe weather conditions and the polarizing changes in light and darkness? How are the Arctic peoples and the environment responding to current global changes? You will also learn why Lapland has always attracted visitors and how each of them has left their mark here in one way or another. The exhibitions of the Regional Museum of Lapland illustrate the history of Lapland, its cultures, nature, and other contemporary themes. The Arctic exhibition is curated by the University of Lapland's Arctic Centre, which also conducts internationally recognized multidisciplinary research of the Arctic. More than 40 researchers work for the Arctic Centre, and their findings are presented in the exhibition. There are different ways to define the Arctic, and these are shown in the exhibition. Global warming affects more or less all the definitions. Whether the region is defined based on temperature, tree line, or permafrost, the Arctic shrinks as the climate gets warmer. The Arctic Circle is the only definition unaffected by global warming. The Arctic region is characterized by a long winter, a short growing season, and rugged nature. Many imagine the Arctic region as a vast, uninhabited wilderness, but people have been living here for thousands of years. Currently, about 4 million people live in the Arctic area. Out of those 4 million people, around 10 to 20% are indigenous people, the original people of the areas they live in. The people of the north have adapted to their cold and snowy environment, and this is evident in the little things, like the practical details in their traditional clothing, equipment, and methods of transportation. However, climate change, globalization, and exploitation of natural resources have put the Arctic under global pressure and continue to impact Arctic culture and the Arctic environment. Through Arktikum's science exhibition, visitors learn how global issues are faced in the Arctic and how the northern people will cope with them in the future in order to achieve sustainability. In addition to the 4 seasons, there are 4 seasons of transition this far north, bringing the total number of seasons up to 8. It is fair to say that the only constant is change in the weather and conditions. In Lapland, for example, the spring begins when days get longer in February with huge drifts of snow and temperatures regularly around 20 below zero. In May, still spring, the snow thaws, waters are freed of their ice cover, and the first signs of summer start appearing as temperatures climb up to around 10 to 15 degrees. People living in the Arctic region are accustomed to extreme changes in the amount of natural light. In wintertime, the sun mostly appears as a faint glow on the horizon. This long period is known as the polar night or kaamos. In contrast, summer nights are white and the sun does not set at all during the midnight sun period. These changes in natural light are due to the fact that the Earth's axis is tilted towards the sun. In Arktikum's exhibition, this phenomena is demonstrated in an instructive way. No wonder this is one of the best-liked parts of the exhibition. The Northern Lights, also known as the Aurora Borealis, appear in the Arctic sky every night. However, they can't always be seen or distinguished by the human eye. Light pollution and clouds, among other things, make the Northern Lights harder to see from the surface of the Earth. In clear weather, the Northern Lights are visible right outside Arktikum. There are many old myths about the Northern Lights. Ancient Arctic stories often associate the Northern Lights with death or the afterlife. For example, according to a tale told by the Inuit, the Northern Lights come about when the souls of the dead play ball with a walrus skull. The Northern Lights were also a familiar sight to the Sami of old, who used to stop their sleds and remain still when the aurora appeared. They believed the lights could descend from heavens and steal people away. An old Finnish myth explains the light's appearance through a magical firefox running on the rolling hills of Lapland, sweeping his tail on the snow and sending sparks flying up into the sky. The Finnish name for the Northern Lights, Revontulit, literally means foxfires. As a science centre, Arktikum wants to educate people on the facts of the Northern Lights. What causes this beautiful and mystical phenomenon, and why? Can you predict the Northern Lights' appearance, and if so, how? What are the main colours you can see, and what makes the colours change? Do the Northern Lights have sound? And if yes, what kind of sound is it? Finland's largest and northernmost province, Lapland, has been the home for permanent settlements and a broad network of peoples for thousands of years. Lapland has always attracted visitors that have left their mark here in different ways. The Regional Museum of Lapland is the principal authority for storing Lappish culture, history, nature, and architectural heritage. Rovaniemi is the regional capital of Lapland, a local hub for administration, commerce, and travel. The city is an urban outpost within Lapland's vast natural landscape and has approximately 60,000 inhabitants. Internationally, Rovaniemi is known as the official hometown of Santa Claus and has grown into a significant travel destination in the past few decades. Rovaniemi is also a lively student town with a university and polytechnic. More than 10% of the city's inhabitants are students. The rise of commercial forestry in the latter half of the 19th century heralded an era of prosperity for Rovaniemi. In the beginning of the 20th century, the village of Rovaniemi was mostly built out of wood. The Second World War left around 90% of the town destroyed, dramatically changing the townscape. Only a few pre-war buildings still stand in Rovaniemi today. Finland was involved in 3 wars during the Second World War from 1939 to 1945. The first of them, the Winter War, was fought between the Finns and the Soviet Union from 1939 to 1940. Finland managed to fight off the Soviet invasion, but lost significant areas along the eastern border in the peace treaty. A year later, the Continuation War started, spanning from 1941 to 1944. It was again fought against the Soviet Union. This time, allied with the German army, Finland wanted to regain the areas lost in the Winter War the previous year. There were up to 220,000 German soldiers in Finland during the Continuation War. When Finland agreed on an armistice with the Soviet Union, the terms included expelling the German army from Finnish territory. This led to the Third War, the Lapland War that was fought between the Finns and the retreating German troops in 1944 to 1945. The Germans resorted to scorched earth tactics during the retreat from Lapland, destroying villages, bridges, boats, telephone lines, and roads as they went, leaving also minefields in their wake. Lapland's capital city, Rovaniemi, was nearly completely destroyed in the war. For a long time, the town was called Piipuniemi, Chimneyscape, because chimneys were the only things left standing after the destruction. After reaching peace, the state of Finland started the decades-long reconstruction of a destroyed Lapland. In Rovaniemi, a team spearheaded by famous Finnish architect Alvar Aalto designed a reconstruction plan of the town centre. This plan, known as the Reindeer Antler Plan, had Lapland's most iconic animal imprinted in the regional capital's construction. In post-war Finland, Rovaniemi and Lapland were the first recipients of aid provided by UNICEF's predecessor, UNRRA. Known as the soul of the UNRRA, Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt made a surprise visit to Rovaniemi in 1950. For the reception ceremony, a cabin was constructed with only 2 weeks' notice on the Arctic Circle line, 8 kilometers north of the city. The Arctic Circle cabin was the first building on the site that is now known as Santa Claus Village, a world-famous tourist attraction where you can meet Santa Claus every day of the year. Mrs. Roosevelt's visit to the Arctic Circle cabin can be seen as the spark that ignited a booming industry. For centuries, the people of Lapland have relied on nature for their food and livelihoods. Hunting has been an important source of food up here. The elk, the largest animal in Finland, is one of the reasons people migrated towards the north after the last ice age ended some 10,000 years ago. Forestry has been one of the cornerstones of the Finnish economy for a very long time. In the early 20th century, logging camps offered employment to many during the winter months. These camps were almost like factories in the wilderness. Fishing was an important source of livelihood in Finland from the Stone Age up until the 20th century. Commonly used methods included seine, net, and trap fishing. Whitefish and northern pike were the most coveted prey in the lakes. The Kemijoki that flows through Rovaniemi once was one of Finland's main rivers for salmon fishing, which was very important for the locals. The launch of a power plant in Kemi prevented the salmon from swimming upriver, which brought an end to salmon fishing in Kemijoki. In Finland, berry picking is an important hobby but also a source of livelihood for many people. The cloudberry is one of the most highly valued berries in Finland. It grows in all parts of the country, but the largest harvest comes from northern Finland. Indeed, the cloudberry season is so important to the northern people that many of them spend their entire summer holiday picking cloudberries. The Sami people living in Finland, Sweden, Norway and Russia are the only officially recognized indigenous people in the European Union. Samiland refers to the area traditionally inhabited by the Sami people in the Nordic countries and Russia. These days, most of the Sami people live outside Samiland. There are between 75,000 and 100,000 Sami people in total. The number varies depending on the calculation method used. Norway has the largest Sami population, while Russia has the smallest. About 10,000 Sami live in Finland in 3 different peoples: Inari Sami, Skolt Sami, and the Northern Sami. In the Nordic countries, reindeer herding has been the main livelihood of the Sami. Although reindeer herding is a traditional way of life for the Sami, not all Sami are reindeer herders. Many of them have also been hunters and fishermen. Reindeer herding has nevertheless had a profound impact on the life of the Sami. The reindeer has adapted to the Arctic conditions in many ways. Reindeer have fur coat with hollow guard hair that traps air inside it for better insulation from the cold. In summertime, reindeer do not secrete melatonin or sleep hormone and can therefore be active at any time of the day or night. Their eyes also adapt to increasing or decreasing amount of light by changing their color. Reindeer herding follows the rhythm of the Arctic nature and the annual natural cycle of the reindeer. The reindeer mostly live free in their herds but are gathered together twice a year for a roundup. In Arktikum, you can take a journey through Lapland's nature and all its seasons in just 9 minutes. The Polar Opposites video presentation takes you from the darkest time of the year, with the sky ablaze as the northern lights dance across it, to the bright nights of the midnight sun. Stand in a snow-covered forest, witness reindeer herding, and warm your hands by a crackling fire. Arktikum Science Centre and Museum is one of the 3 premier cultural attractions accessible with the Culture Pass in Rovaniemi. Korundi House of Culture presents alternative and daring northern perspectives through contemporary art, and Science Centre Pilke explores northern forests and the use of wood in fun and exciting ways. Culture Pass is a multi-entry ticket valid for 7 days. Visit the 3 attractions as many times as you like. Welcome to the North.